My people, make we talk. When the storm comes. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Where we listen from around the world in the Eastern Caribbean. This is the Make We Talk program here on WZPP and WZOP. Good afternoon. We have with us my good friend Luke George. Are you hearing us?
Yes, I am hearing you.
Yes, Luke. Thank you for joining us, Luke George. Luke, we have a situation here that we need to discuss, wherein the Integrity Commission, as a matter of fact, before we go to the whole of the Integrity Commission thing here, we need to divert rather in some discussion that was done by the opposition leader. He made a statement that we need to get his clip in here, and I'm trying my best to get this thing off to get his clip in. Yes, to get his clip, the audio that the opposition leader did. You know, because we're trying to find out if the Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, is trying to cover up something. I'm not accusing him, but I'm just, you know. But Luke, before we go any further, let us listen to what the opposition leader said. Oh, Lord. Sorry there. Before we go any further,
the recent revelation of the Andrew Holness-led government's decision to impose a gag order on cabinet ministers and government lawmakers from commenting on matters related to the Integrity Commission and the identity of the 6 parliamentarians who are under investigation for illicit enrichment is both shocking and deeply concerning. The notion of creating a so-called cabinet policy to shield ministers from speaking the truth and to evade accountability is a glaring attempt to obstruct transparency and to evade responsibility among elected officials to the Jamaican people. The excuse that this policy is intended to preserve the confidentiality of cabinet deliberations is a misdirection from its true intent. In reality, it seems to be a political maneuver to shield parliamentarians from being held to account for their actions and potential wrongdoings. This is not the kind of leadership and governance that Jamaicans deserve. The very essence of democratic governance hinges on transparency, accountability, and the duty of elected officials to provide explanations to the people they serve.
For the interest of time, Luke George, your views on what the opposition leader just said?
That Mr. Holness is further strengthening the position of civil society, both home and abroad.
Can you speak a little louder for me, Luke?
Basically, Mark Golding is saying that Mr. Holness and the Jamaica Labour Party administration is further concretizing in the minds of Jamaicans, both home and abroad, that they are not about transparency, they are not about accountability. They rather create ways to prevent people in their administration to become answerable to the people who hire them. Mm-hmm. And the people who hire them are not being listened to, nor are they being given an opportunity to get to understand the issue. So we heard that there were 6 despots that are in the government. We have not identified if all 6 are members of the Jamaica Labour Party, or there is a fraction that is from one party or another. So in the public's mind and in the public's domain and in the public's discourse, we were told that there were 6 ministers or members of parliament or just members of government on both sides that are under questionable circumstances by the Integrity Commission. What we have seen is almost victimization of both the commission and individual on the commission. And you must remember that Greg Christie, who served as the former contractor general, and that is the commission is consists of, I think, two public bodies that came together on that particular act. It was established on that, so we need to educate the listening public that this was not something that was new. The Integrity Commission, which is governed by the Integrity Act of 2017, the ICA, it effectively merged the operation of two or three state agencies, the Office of the Contractor General, the former Commission of Prevention of Corruption, in which public officials are required to file income tax asset liability statement on an annual basis. The former Integrity Commission commissioner would require that these parliamentarians. Now, certainly, there was a report that was tabled in Parliament, and in it had some shades that it showed on the Prime Minister's and his filing of the tax, and other members who are public officials who are supposed to be leaders in their own right, setting an example. So if you have laws that governs a country, then you must have your citizens adhering to those laws. And you would want to think that at that level, that they have to set the example so that the people who send them there will realize that nobody is above the law.
You know,
after the
before you go any further, Luke, I see where former MP for Central Kingston, the Reverend Ronald Thwaites, says that the members of the illicit six should make full declaration to the public. And I have a voice clipping of what the former member of parliament said, and I'm going to play it here. Because in which other modern democracy can you have 6 parliamentarians and 28 public officials being investigated for alleged enrichment, and they still sit in the parliament, or they on the oversight committee of parliament? Those are the things that we need to ask. But listen to what Ronnie Thwaites said.
Recently, for no reason at all, I asked Mint.
Sorry. Listen to what Ronnie Thwaites said. I'm going to get to that clip in there. Because, you know, Ronnie Thwaites said something that really, our people need to take note of it.
Recently,
oh, Jesus, and not again.
I asked Mint Mobile's legal team.
Oh, I'm apologizing for this. I'm trying to get the clip in here, but it is giving me something else that I don't want. But I'm going to work on it. But you know what Ronnie Thwaites is trying to say is this: that we need to really ask for these people to come out and say something, talk what they know, or because the members of the People's National Party came out and said that they are not involved in any of these. The Integrity Commission has not called on them to come out and say anything. So, you know,
well,
go ahead.
But look, we here in Jamaica and across the world have heard the name of the six.
Oh Lord.
You know, in a Jamaica, people say, people talk, and nothing seems to be a secret, because them either come out ahead of time and them sort of give out 6 names to get a feedback. I can't call 6 people's name because I'm not at liberty. But the fact of the matter is that you want in this new dispensation leadership that will address those things in quick succession, and to give this sort of support to the effective and efficient running of an integrity commission to ensure that the Jamaican people and not being misled or being misguided by the people who they put there or underserved by them.
Yes.
Anywhere you go,
hold on for me, look. I got the clipping of Ronnie Thwaites. Hold on.
Former Member of Parliament for Central Kingston, Ronald Thwaites, says the members of the illicit six should make full disclosure to the public. In 2002, Mr. Thwaites resigned as MP after he became the subject of an investigation by the Auditor General's Department.
There was an assertion that a check which came to my professional practice had been deposited in the firm's account rather than being sent immediately to the place where it should go. I immediately resigned as Member of Parliament. I wasn't pressured to do so, but I felt that the honor of my mission and the responsibility I had required me to do so. Within 3 months, the Auditor General cleared entirely, publicly, that there was no wrongdoing, no culpability in the matter. Any member of Parliament who has information that they are being investigated for untoward conduct should immediately disclose this to their constituents, to their party, and ultimately to the public.
Mr. Thwaites says the problematic gag clause provisions in the Integrity Commission Act ought to be removed.
I am fully aware of the iniquity of uninformed false accusations against anyone that can cause great reputational damage. I, however, understand the law relating to the Integrity Commission that whenever they have a question regarding the assets of a member or public official, they make inquiries, ask for the person to respond, and thereafter, only when there is no satisfactory response are they placed under investigation. In those circumstances, I think a further gag is unnecessary, and I support the removal of that clause.
Ronald Thwaites, former Member of Parliament for Central Kingston.
Look, do you believe that the government is hiding something while they put a gag on all parliamentarians?
In respect to the government, both past and previous, there are always some underdealings in both political parties. And people say that the PNP is the lesser of both evil. Some people are more sophisticated in how they hide the information from the public. But if you ever read the Auditor General report, Miss Monroe, Monroe something is her name, Monroe Ellis. In all of the report, and I think I have a copy of the 2010 to 2015 and subsequently reports have been put out. She speaks about the amount of money that are unaccounted for through the awarding of contracts, through the awarding of repairs or jobs or engagement that the government may have. Certainly the Holness government is not without its own sin. But what we keep on seeing is an interruption. For instance, you're asking yourself, why would you want to know Jeffrey seems like you're talking to somebody else.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
The government seemingly is now the lawmaker and the lawbreaker because you have the Pension Act, and recently you see we're extending the contract of the Contractor General when in our office her deputy have been in waiting for them to be promoted as such, because they would have done the work and sought await the promotion. And in that same vein, we are seeing an extension of you call it the director of the poor in the poor relief department, who is also at retirement age, and her contract is being extended. And you ask yourself the question, can any public servant just get up now and say, well, I've done 65 years, which is the year of retirement, but I feel like I could go on to 70. Can I ask for an extension in contract? So you're making the rules and you're breaking them. And I remember one prime minister in his description, when he was granting a particular day of holiday, he says the law is not a shackle. So if the law is not a shackle, then do the Jamaican people have to adhere to it? There should be no gag order. People are given a job, and I personally don't believe.
Hold on for me, Luke. I have a call coming in, Luke. Good afternoon. Welcome to WZPP. Make we talk. Good afternoon. Welcome to WZPP. Make we talk.
You pull out a reference regarding the alleged ethics and integrity violation of about what, half a dozen members of parliament, right? Now you use Ronald Thwaites to strengthen your argument. He weighing. And this is one of the problems.
Jeffrey, the person in your background is drumming out.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. And so what has happened is that here it is again why most Jamaicans don't listen to these conversations, because we keep going around in circles. Because why would you bring a man with a checkered public record for accountability in Jamaica? We're talking about Ronald Thwaites. You mentioned one of them, which was the check divertment, allegedly put into his personal account for how long that he collect for the government of Jamaica money, right?
Hold on for me, caller. We can prove it's the Jamaican government he collected it for, He said in his personal practice. Hold on.
Yeah.
He said a check came from his personal practice. We do not know if the check was. We do not know the check was for his business or for the post office, whatever, for Jamaica. It is alleged.
No. It was established.
But Jeffrey, it is not now alleged. The gentleman was cleared of all of what was being said about him at the time by the body that had the regulation. So the caller is just berating the point that we can't have this discussion, because here's what it is. We are not saying what you want.
Hold on for me.
Gentleman went.
Go ahead, Luke.
Just give the courtesy.
The gentleman was cleared by the statutory body that
and everybody gets cleared in Jamaica
under the allegation of all such charges. The gentleman clearly in the statement said,
hold on for me, Luke. Hold on for me, Luke. Make him finish this. What are you saying, sir? Go ahead.
We go further. This man was involved in the coffee board, in borrow money. Well, Jamaican taxpayers have to bail them out, a whole bunch of them, right? With a coffee. Now, this man here, we insanely politics. Let it be. Why would they need to call up referencing the same steel bulla people? And that they have they're playing this political game. Now that he's outside, he can chat all kind of thing that don't mean anything. Nobody don't want to hear them. Why don't go and interview people out in Jamaica, in the regular people around the place? Ask them for their opinion. We're going to keep bringing these...
hold on for me, sir. Hold on for me. You hold on a minute for me now. Hold on a minute for me now, sir. If I am running this program, and I'm using a reference that was that the gentleman came up this morning in a news item, and I'm saying that Ronnie Thwaites said this.
Right.
I am entitled to do it.
And who is Ronnie Thwaites?
But the fact of the matter is, hold on for me, sir, hold a minute. Yeah. You hold a minute for me. If I am running a program and I'm using a reference of what a gentleman said today in a news item, I am not being political of PMP or JLP. I am just saying XQYZ. Now I can't prove that Ronnie Thwaites was involved in XQYZ, or I can't prove that any member of parliament now is involved in XQYZ. I can't prove that Andrew is in XQYZ. I am just using a reference. And so if I feel like to use, hold on for me, sir. If I am using that to run a program, and to ask questions on what Ronnie Thwaites says. It is your right to say what you want to say, but don't come on the program and say that we are using somebody who have done this or whatever.
No,
What
but
is
you
the
see, one
point
of the
that
things
we are
is that
making
he's
about
telling the
Jamaica?
public about the man wrongdoing because he was co-conspirator to it. Because one of the things that we must never do is tarnish people's reputation. And if we have a favorability for the Jamaica Labour Party and we feel that we have to defend the integrity of the party, you do so at the peril of the Jamaican country, Jamaica land we love. If he has empirical evidence, he as a private citizen can bring a case against Mr. Thwaites for any wrongdoing. Even though I said earlier on, both administration, barring none, have done things that the public is not fully aware of. And there have been many cover-up by both administration in how they conduct their affairs, that they do enrich themselves at the expense of the suffering of the Jamaican people. So if we were to sort of just take a step back and look at the recent report that came out that is out there said by Statin. I have not seen the report, but it is alleged that Statin is saying that we're at a record low employment rate in Jamaica because almost every Jamaican is employed. And I'm saying that I'm not hearing in the public space somebody saying to Statin, is that accurate? So, and I don't even know if it's accurate because I've called Statin now to send me a copy where I can get a copy of the recent employment poll that is taken in Jamaica. So if that is the truth, Jeffrey, then you don't have to send remittance to your loved ones. The people call you every day and tell you a story. So what is happening here is that we're asking, can I interject a point? Should the gag order be lifted from the integrity? You should not have a gag order.
Okay.
You might jump from one topic.
No. Hold on for me, sir. Hold on for me. No. Yeah, I like when you call the program, and I appreciate when you call the program, sir. But we were talking about the Integrity Commission. So if the conversation led to Statin, there's a reason why the commission is led to Statin. We're not jumping from one point to the other point. We are coming up
with the Integrity Commission.
Did you listen to what the gentleman said? Why he went to Statin?
What he said, and it had no relevance.
No, he's not going to listen. He's here to defend.
It had no relevance. And for the people that are not familiar with what Statin is.
It's a perfect.
How you mean? Hold on for me. How you mean? If Statin is saying that Jamaica has the lowest employment rate in history, how you mean Statin has no relevance?
No. What I'm saying, listen to the context. We're talking about a body which is empaneled to investigate corruption among the certain.
And I'm saying to you, there is a reason why the gentleman who is on the program, Luke George Cook, went and Statin. I am going to take a commercial break, sir. I am going to take a commercial break, sir. If you wish to stay, I appreciate it. We're going to take a commercial break. We'll be right back on the Make Talk, WZBP 96.1 FM and WZOP 92.7 FM. We're also going to go over to the Broad County Cricket Stadium where our good friend Mighty Mike is on location for a broadcast that is going to happen anytime soon during this program. But this is what we are. We're speaking about what the Integrity Commission is doing in Jamaica and how many parliamentarians are involved in the investigation while we can't get the names and also of the other officials. I am Jeffrey T. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back here on the Make Talk, Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel and WZPP 96.7 FM.
You're listening to WZOP 92.7 LP FM.
We're not the airline, but we can take you to the islands every Sunday at Island Vibe Sunday.
Make up on the mind. Work has to be done. It's not going to just happen so. We have to make sure, say,
every comrade who voted for the People's National Party in 2011 and delivered the victory, if they're still alive, they have to go vote for Comrade Patrick Peter King.
As part of the Democratic Socialist agenda, the People's Emergency Production Plan was conceived as a path to making Jamaica more self-reliant. The idea was to encourage Jamaicans to consume more locally grown and manufactured goods, while at the same time expand the sectors of local production. We needed to motivate Jamaicans to change their attitudes towards work, consumption habits, and taste patterns developed through centuries of colonial rule and foreign indoctrination. The overriding objective was to locally produce the maximum amount of goods and services consumed by the masses to minimize the need for foreign exchange. There were 6 major focus areas for the production plan: agriculture, eat and grow local; manufacturing, produce and consume locally made goods; construction, utilize local building materials like natural woods; fuels and energy, focus on solar, water, and wind energy rather than oil; manpower and employment, educate and train a world-class workforce; foreign economic relations, build international relationships with like-minded Eastern European and Third World countries, as well as strengthen relations with China. The PNP envisioned building an equitable economic system that was not dependent on international capitalist structures. As you can imagine, this national agenda probably did not sit well with institutions like the IMF or the World Bank.
And so the decision was then taken to go into an IMF program with the view that we keep on trying to develop the production plan and then to also do the reforms. That didn't work, and to be honest with you, objectively, it couldn't work. Because once you are in the IMF program, that's it. You can't find a way around it and through it and so on and so forth. There's very strict set of conditionality.
That is the difference between them and us.
A few will continue to plunder poor people's money because we will have to continue to live with the rampant corruption that has characterized this government, of which the Prime Minister has been a part from beginning till now.
Within the first 100 days of our government, we will start the legislative process to institute, and I want you to listen to me carefully, impeachment proceedings in Parliament. This will add another layer of protection of the Parliament to ensure that only members of unquestioned integrity sit in the Parliament.
Michael Manley, more than anyone else since Marcus Mozart-Garvey, must be credited for raising the political consciousness of the Jamaican people and motivating them to political action. He was a man who refused to accept things as they were and was unapologetic in his pursuit of change. His concern for the welfare of Jamaica led him to an appreciation of the intricate international economic and political relationships and the way in which they impacted on Jamaica's fortunes. His untiring efforts to change those relationships earned him international recognition and made his an authoritative voice in important councils around the globe.
That is the difference between them and us.
A few will continue to plunder poor people's money because we will have to continue to live with the rampant corruption that has characterized this government, of which the Prime Minister has been a part from beginning till now.
That is the difference between them and us.
Few will continue to plunder poor people's money because we will have to continue to live with the rampant corruption that has characterized this government, of which the Prime Minister has been a part from beginning till now.
Michael Manley, more than anyone else since Marcus Mozart-Garvey, must be credited for raising the political consciousness of the Jamaican people and motivating them to political action. He was a man who refused to accept things as they were and was unapologetic in his pursuit of change. His concern for the welfare of Jamaica led him to an appreciation of the intricate international economic and political relationships and the way in which they impacted on Jamaica's fortunes. His untiring efforts to change those relationships earned him international recognition and made his an authoritative voice in important councils around the globe.
The recent revelation of the Andrew Holness-led government's decision to impose a gag order on cabinet ministers and government lawmakers from commenting on matters related to the Integrity Commission and the identity of the 6 parliamentarians who are under investigation for illicit enrichment is both shocking and deeply concerning. The notion of creating a so-called cabinet policy to shield ministers from speaking the truth and to evade accountability is a glaring attempt to obstruct transparency and to evade responsibility among elected officials to the Jamaican people. The excuse that this policy is intended to preserve the confidentiality of cabinet deliberations is a misdirection from its true intent. In reality, it seems to be a political maneuver to shield parliamentarians from being held to account for their actions and potential wrongdoings. This is not the kind of leadership and governance that Jamaicans deserve. The very essence of democratic governance hinges on transparency, accountability, and the duty of elected officials to provide explanations to the people they serve. This so-called policy undermines these fundamental principles and erodes the trust between the government and its citizens. The People's National Party views this cabinet policy as a dangerous subversion of democratic values. It is an abuse of power at the highest level, and it contradicts the ideals of open and honest governance that the Jamaican people have a right to expect from their elected representatives. The PNP's stance is in stark contrast to this approach. We have taken the responsible step of voluntarily disclosing the status of all our parliamentarians with regard to the investigation by the Integrity Commission. This demonstrates our commitment to transparency and accountability. Jamaica is watching closely, and it is evident that we are not the same. One side of the aisle will go to great lengths to deceive the Jamaican public, while the other side seeks to uphold the values that underpin a healthy and functioning democracy. The signing of the Integrity Commission's Leadership Code of Conduct is another example of this. We call upon the government to reconsider their decision, to respect the principles of transparency and accountability, and to put the interests of the Jamaican people first. Our nation deserves leadership that is open, honest, and dedicated to serving the best interests of all citizens of Jamaica, land we love.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to the program. We just have a few minutes leave in the program. So George, are you there with us?
Yes, Jeffrey.
Yes, and Carly here with us. We don't have a few minutes leave. Carly, just make your point for me, your 5 minutes point, please, because we have to wrap up anytime soon.
Yeah. What we need right now regarding the matter of the release of information is that we need to file a request on the Freedom of Information Act in Jamaica, which there is one. So concrete step. In addition, the parliamentary opposition who has no credibility on this issue, but since they're making a lot of noise all over the place, what they need to do is to boycott the sit-ins to show their disgust and table some legislation, new legislation, to compound that this information should never be cloaked in secrecy.
All right.
And then we have a real issue to debate about. But other than that, just repeating this and repeating that, it's redundant.
Okay.
You know, you could be doing this every Monday, doing the same thing. It bores people. People not inspired by it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Luke, with the whole few minutes now, Luke, Luke, what do you think the Jamaican people are saying right now? And maybe in the diaspora, what do you think they're saying?
The thing is that the majority of Jamaican wants the Integrity Commission to be unbridled and for them to carry out their function without fear of interference. We want to hold our public officials to the highest standard. And as Ronnie said in that clip, when I was named in the investigation, I thought it was the honorable thing to step aside so that I give the public the confidence that once there is a cloud of darkness over my name, I need to relinquish that position so that people don't feel that I'm staying there to further influence the process to satisfy me. But I want the Jamaican people to be assured that its systems of government and its offices work in an effective way to bring about the right solution and to hold those who are in public spaces accountable. And sad to say that against the backdrop that I didn't hear what the caller was saying, and I'm happy. I tell you the truth, I'm happy because I'm sorry that we always feel that we have to be for or against. I have an opinion. He has one set different, and I respect his. But the truth, it goes against the backdrop that we saw Ruel Reid in a situation where he was implicated, and therefore he was not charged. He was afterwards charged and brought before the court. And we saw an Andrew Holness writing to JC to say, hold on to his position. Not to say, well, you have to step aside and allow due process to take place. And repeatedly in the Holness administration, all the wrongdoers seems to get a slap on the wrist until we have now dubbed Jamaica House the holding cell for the bad players. So you have the Mr. Vaz, you have Mr. Thing, and in the mind of the Jamaican people, nothing really changed. Them two who are strong, and them strong and wrong.
Right? But look, when you look on this, and yet we're talking about a 2030 vision to live and work and then raise family. And if you have a prime minister, the Integrity Commission stated that 6 parliamentarians and 28 public officials are being investigated for illicit enrichment. In which modern democracy can these people still sit in the parliament?
In Jamaica democracy, every time you say it, me just cringe. In Jamaica democracy, the laws only punish those that are below crossroads. But the laws have different interpretations for everybody else who holds public office. So the primary objective of the Integrity Commission is to further enhance and promote is to promote integrity through all public sector workers. It is supposed to strengthen the measure that prevents, and there must be an investigation and a prosecution under the Act of Corruption, and to ensure that public sector confidence that acts outside of impropriety and corruption is maintained. Now, any prime minister that does not signal the plane on this one, Jeffrey, that he or she, whoever it may be in the future, are going to ensure that this happens on behalf of the Jamaican people should demit office. I believe that Mr. Holness has done, in my mind, and in many Jamaicans' minds, a disservice to the Jamaican people who trust him to have delivered to us. We were so hopeful that the youngest prime minister would be the guy who would take us on that 180-degree turn. But you know, some people are satisfied being in Potiphar's house and being molested by Potiphar's wife. They call wrong right, and they impugn the integrity of people who love this country. I believe that when Greg Christie left Jamaica to take up that job in St. Kitts and Turks, it was a disservice. It was wrong. We should have demanded that he stayed, because what we saw was a vibrant contractor general, and what we saw is an invigorated executive director of the Integrity Commission. It is Greg Christie who is holding them to account on behalf of the Jamaican people, that we need to rally around him and ensure that elections do have consequences. If Mark Golding feels that there should not be a gag order and that this office should really be carried forward without interference from political parties and influential people in Jamaica, then people need to ask themselves, the next time we put our vote out there, what are we voting for? I vote for Integrity Commission who will bring parliamentarian to justice. No one is above the law. The United States in its democracy have demonstrated that not even presidents can promote themselves to the offices of king or SSR Furia. So while in Jamaica, a smaller state that has signed on to this as part of a regional function of CARICOM, why should we be treated any different? I say that it's time the Jamaican people rise up. And it is in our national pledge that we must stand for justice, brotherhood, and peace, and to work diligently and creatively, and to think honestly and give generously, so that Jamaica may, under God, increase in her beauty. It is a shame that in 2023, 61 years after independence, the few continue to enjoy the large, sumptuous smorgasbord feast while starving the plenty. And it is the plenty, nonetheless, that I put them there to work on their behalf. It's a national disgrace. And the 6 ministers who know themselves, because they would have seen the documentation filed by the Office of the Integrity Commission questioning their practice, they should come out, resign from offices, and allow the due process of the investigation and prosecution to take place, so that once and for all we can dispense from the idea that big man have the top because he have the money, and therefore he is not treated under the law as the other citizens, the ordinary citizens of Jamaica have to endure. So, Mr. Tavares.
Yes, sir. Thank you for.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm saying this in the interest of time, because let me say this. I had a clip to be played about what both the Prime Minister and also the opposition leader said, but in the interest of time, I couldn't get to play it. But I'm going to have a program tomorrow at 7 o'clock Jamaica time, where we can discuss this in depth more. But Luke, before you go ahead.
Go ahead, Mr. Tavares.
Before you go, Luke, I want you to give us 2 minutes of you know, what do you tell our people in our country, in Jamaica, and people in the diaspora? How would you tell them about this thing?
I know that we're polarized by our politics and our belief. I'm a child of the 70s, and I grew up in a PNP home with a JLP neighbor across from us. But it was different. When we talk about the good old days, those are the things that I totally remember, that my granduncle had this neighbor who was a strong JLP supporter. And they would buy their 6 beers and they get their broom, a new broom, and they listen tirelessly through the night for the outcome of the elections. And whoever won, the other would take the broom and they would banter. But they came together on those fundamental principles of not shafting the people, of not disrespecting the office for which you have been elected to. And they were always in one accord that government is not for the enrichment of the individual, but it's a selfless act of putting country over individual for the greater good of all. We need to stop the PNP and JLP bantering and politics and always having to defend. So you come to tarnish Ronnie Thwaites now. Ronnie Thwaites no him sin enough. I don't know why sinner feel like them catch such a sinner. And then you want to take my teeth out of my mouth because you want to talk from me because I don't have a right to say the institution of government in our country is misleading the Jamaican people. And therefore they are not fulfilling their mandate. And once we have identified that you are not doing the right thing, we must call for removal of people at the head of those institutions, such as the statin. In this case, the Integrity Commission have 6 bad fruits. Weed them out, because if you don't weed them out early enough, you are influencing Jeffrey. The young set of people who are now looking to go to Parliament for the wrong reason, because they don't want to remain poor. They want to enjoy the scarce benefits and spoil at the disservice of not pleasing the Jamaican people. We have set a double standard as to what leadership is about, and too many despots are now taking up, are being policed in offices, and the country as a result is not going to see a Vision 30 flourishing in this soil, because it is not fertile. It is the same reason why you see an increase in the people who are going into scamming Jeffrey, people who have first degree, because the Jamaican people are saying that we don't see the success that Nigel Clark speaks about, or what makes Andrew Holness so enthused that Jamaica is going in the direction. And out of the Prime Minister's very mouth, he uttered it. He said, Nigel, I'm glad that you're happy with the direction that the economy is going. But I will be more happy as Prime Minister of this country if the people who have to balance their everyday budget, to pay a highlight bill, to watch no water in their pipes, to go days on end without food in their house, reach to the point where they are pivoting and they can take care of their domestic affair, and then and only then will I be happy. So in a sense, he himself recognized that hardships we are facing, we are always looking at the Greenland, and we're always hopeful and playing our part as a people for better governance that will ensure that our health services operate in a better space, our education system give us more enlightened mind that less depend on social policy. But you see,
have to go now, Luke.
The JLP has played a big card on us, where you see them enrich politicians and judges, and to show that them love the people, them give security guard and minimum wage to the people, while because the people in the middle, they recognize really don't care one iota. But it is all a strategy to ensure that we maintain power to enrich the few while the many suffer.
Thank you very much, Luke George Cook, human rights activist and political commentator. Thank you for coming on.
We get new titles. Thank you, look at the light.
Thank you so much.
Come on, man. All right, set of eyes.
Thank you so much. That's Luke George Cook. You know, before we go off air, I just want to say, remember to like, share, and subscribe to the Make We Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, type in Make We Talk, MEKWITALK, Jeffrey Tavares, and you will get all what you want to get on the YouTube channel, because we're going to be there come this evening and tomorrow evening discussing the Integrity Commission. Until you hear my voice again, I am Jeffrey T saying so long. But you know, before we go, I must tell you, there's a tropical depression out. I see we're in California has been hit with a hurricane, wind and everything and rains. And also we're faced with a problem wherein, they had a 5-point-something earthquake that hit California. We need to pray for the people of California and pray for, the members, our Caribbean families who are, getting one after the other. There's so many tropical depression out of the coast of Africa that's coming towards the Caribbean and even coming towards South Florida here. But, what to do is the time of year. Global warming is on us. I know former President Donald Trump don't believe in that, but global warming is on us. And we have to really get this thing, under control. Can we get it under control? Man-made thing? Can we? Who knows? Maybe we can. But, we are faced with a problem wherein if we can't say to the 6 parliamentarians and the 28 public officials in Jamaica to step aside while the investigation continues, then there is something fundamentally wrong with the government of the country. If the Prime Minister of Jamaica cannot say to them, because he's saying that he doesn't know them, all of them say no. So what? Is the Integrity Commission losing its head by saying 6 members when the Prime Minister is saying that there's none of them? The opposition party is saying that none of them is involved in it either. No, they haven't gotten a letter from any of them. So something is fundamentally wrong somewhere. Is it that the Integrity Commission is losing a screw? Termite eating out the brain. And I'm pretty much sure there's no termite eating out their brains. So we, the Jamaican people in the diaspora and in Jamaica, must demand accountability. And we must say to the Prime Minister of Jamaica, the 6 parliamentarians must be named. They're eating taxpayers' money. They must be named. And the 28 public officials must be named. They must be named. In any other modern democracy, they couldn't be sitting in the parliament same way. Only in Jamaica. And the time has come for us in this country, in Jamaica, to stop saying we are die hard to this and die hard to that. And think about the piece of rock where we come from. Think about the piece of rock. Jamaica is in need of help. And the time for us to be talking about we are this and we are that. For God Almighty's sake, tired of we are Jamaican now. And stand up for the rock. Speak out for the rock. Because within, the rock is bleeding from within. The rock is crying out for help. We're crying out for help. The rock is crying out for help. And the time for it is now. Until you hear my voice again, I'm Jeffrey T saying so long from WCPP 96.1 FM and WZOP 92.7 FM. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Until you hear me again, have a good day, everyone.
When the game gets rough and this life just seems so tough, make we talk, my people, make we talk.